The desert sun was setting in hues of gold and violet as the three college friends, Eli, Nate, and Sam, pulled up the highway onto a dusty road leading into the New Mexican wilderness. Midterms were over, and spring break stretched ahead like an open highway. While most students opted for beaches and parties, they decided to spend the week camping in the desert, away from the noise of campus life, deadlines, and responsibilities. Eli, the most adventurous of the trio, had proposed the idea. New Mexico's got everything. Canyons, caves, ghost towns. It's a whole different world out here, he'd said, convincing the others. Nate, a cautious city kid, had been hesitant, but Sam, the laid-back one, agreed without much thought. Why not, he had shrugged. Now, as they rattled down a dirt path in Nate's aging Jeep Cherokee, the desert stretched wide and empty before them. Unlike the blazing heat of summer, the air had a crisp edge, with bursts of warm and cool breezes carrying the scent of sagebrush. "This is how horror movies start," Nate muttered, gripping the steering wheel. Eli laughed, adjusting his baseball cap. "Relax, man. It's an adventure." Sam leaned back, watching the desert pass. "As long as we don't run out of beer or gas, I'm good." They finally reached a secluded spot nestled between rocky outcroppings. A lone Joshua tree stood nearby, and a dry creek bed snaked through the land. With the Jeep parked and the tent set up, they cracked open beers and built a fire. The night came quickly, bringing with it an eerie, infinite silence. "Gotta admit," Nate said, staring up at the endless sky, "this is pretty incredible." "No light pollution out here," Eli said, tossing a stick into the fire. "It's just us and the universe." Sam pointed toward the dark silhouette of a mountain in the distance. "You think there are still gold mines around here? Like bandit hideouts and all of that?" Eli grinned. "Oh, definitely, but the real stories are the lost ones. People disappearing without a trace." Nate shook his head. "Why do you always have to bring that stuff up?" "Because it's fun," Eli took a sip of his drink. "You're in New Mexico, dude. Land of UFOs, ghost towns, and the weirdest legends you've ever heard." They sat by the fire for a while, laughing, drinking, and telling stories. But just as they were getting ready to turn in, a sound cut through the stillness, the sharp, distant howl of an animal. The laughter died instantly. "What was that?" Nate whispered. "Coyote," Eli said casually, though he glanced toward the dark landscape. Sam sat up, sounded close. Another howl, this time answered by several others. Nate exhaled. "Tell me we're not about to be eaten by coyotes." "They don't attack people," Eli reassured him. "They're scavengers." Still, they put out the fire and retreated to the tent, listening as the howls echoed in the distance. Eventually exhaustion won over, and they drifted into uneasy sleep. The next morning, the desert greeted them with a soft golden glow and crisp air. Over a quick breakfast of protein bars and coffee, Eli studied the map. "There's a canyon a few miles from here. Should be cool to explore." "You mean hike in a canyon in the middle of nowhere?" Nate asked, already skeptical. Sam smirked. "Come on, you need some adventure in your life." They packed water, some snacks, and a flashlight, setting off toward the rocky landscape. The hike was tough but stunning, the desert painted in shades of red and brown, towering rock formations rising like ancient sentinels. The further they went, the more isolated it felt. After about an hour, they stumbled upon something unexpected, a crumbling stone structure tucked against the canyon wall. "What the hell?" Sam muttered, stepping closer. It looked like an old homestead or an abandoned outpost. The wooden door barely hung on its hinges, and inside, dust covered everything. A rusted-out lantern sat on a broken shelf, and faded newspapers were scattered on the floor. "This is straight out of a western," Eli whispered, running a hand over the old wooden beams. Nate stepped back, uneasy. "Let's not mess with it. What if someone owns this land?" "Dude, this place has been abandoned forever," Sam said. Just then, Eli picked up something from the floor, an old leather satchel, cracked with age. He opened it, revealing a bundle of yellowed papers and money. "Whoa," we breathed. "Look at this." The bills were ancient, some dating back to the 1800s. "No way," Sam said, eyes wide. Nate's anxiety skyrocketed. "Guys, put that back. This is how people get cursed or shot in movies." Eli laughed. "Relax, it's probably just some prospector's stash. This could be worth something." But before they could debate further, a sound outside made them all freeze. Footsteps. They exchanged glances, hearts pounding. Nate whispered, "Please tell me that's a deer." Eli peering outside. Nothing. "We need to go," Nate said firmly. Sam and Eli hesitated, but finally nodded. They slipped the satchel back where they found it and hurried out of the cabin. The hike back felt twice as long, with every noise making them flinch. When they finally saw their campsite, relief washed over them. That was insane, Sam muttered, shaking his head. Like actually insane. Best adventure ever, Eli grinned. Worst decision ever, Nate countered. That evening, they kept the fire burning bright, still buzzing from the discovery. Maybe we should have taken the money, Sam mused. It's not like anyone's coming back for it. Nate gave him a look. You've seen horror movies. That's literally how curses work. As the fire crackled, Eli's expression turned thoughtful. I swear I heard something outside that cabin. Sam frowned. Yeah, me too. Coyotes, Nate said quickly. But even he wasn't convinced. Later, as they settled into the tent, a low rumbling sound woke them. A car engine. Sam sat up. Who the hell is driving out here? They scrambled outside. In the distance, a pair of headlights bounced along the dirt road. The vehicle, a truck, slowed near their campsite. The firelight flickered, casting shadows as the truck idled. Then, just as suddenly, it turned around and drove off, vanishing into the desert. They stood in silence. Nate swallowed hard. Okay, that's terrifying. Eli was still staring after it. Do you think they knew about the cabin? Nope, Nate said, and I don't want to find out. They barely slept, listening for any sound of return, but the night remained still. By morning, they agreed. It was time to leave. Packing up in record time, they tossed everything into the Jeep and started back toward the highway. The desert seemed quieter than before, the atmosphere tense. As they neared the main road, they spotted something that made Nate slam on the brakes. A rusted-out sign. Property is Sanderson Mining Company. Keep out. Underneath, smaller letters read, Trespassers will be prosecuted. Nate turned to Eli. That cabin was on private land. Eli exhaled. That explains the truck. Sam ran a hand through his hair. You think they were looking for us? A beat of silence. Then Nate floored it. They didn't stop until they reached a gas station hours later, where they finally let out nervous laughter. That, Eli admitted, that was a little close. Sam shook his head, grinning. Best trip ever. Nate groaned. I am never camping with you two again. But as they drove back toward civilization, they all knew one thing. They'd never forget the adventure they had in the New Mexico desert. Thanks for joining us on the open road, where anything can happen and there's always another adventure right around the corner. Remember before you leave to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the open road.